A Calgary man is now facing 49 charges in relation to 22 underage victims of alleged sexual abuse. On Wednesday, May 3rd, 2017, we announced that a man had been charged in connection with 3 separate cases of underage girls being sexually abused. Following this announcement, 19 new victims have come forward to report that they had also been victimized. It is believed that the man would use social media sites, posing as a young teen male and asking to meet young girls. He would ask them to chat through various social media platforms and would offer cash or items in exchange for sexual favors. This included instances of victims sending photos of themselves, either clothed, partially, or nude. Numerous social media sites were used, including Ask.fm, Snapchat, Instagram, with the usernames Josh.C234, bmiles, bmiles23, Brandon, Mike Real, Average Joe, and A-Rod. One incident is alleged to have taken place in 2009, another in 2011, and the remaining are alleged between 2015 and 2017. The victims are females between the ages of 12 and 17. Following the charges laid in May, an investigation continued where there were additional reports that came to light. During this time, investigators became aware that the suspect was with an underage girl on Tuesday, December 5th, 2017, despite his release condition. He was arrested, subsequently charged on Thursday, December 7th, and remanded. Further charges were then laid on Tuesday, December 19th, 2017. In addition to the charges laid in May, Christian Allen Surreal, age 27 of Calgary, was also charged on Thursday, December 7th with 6 offenses in relation to 1 victim, and on Tuesday, December 19th with 37 charges in relation to 18 victims. The charges include sexual assault, sexual interference, luring a child, extortion, accessing and distributing child pornography, making sexual explicit material available to a child, and communication for the purpose of obtaining sexual services from a child. Surreal will next appear in court on Friday, December 22nd, 2017. This investigation is continuing, and anyone who has been a victim of sexual assault is always encouraged to come forward in contacting police.
In outlining the charges of the years, there's a 4-year space between 2011 and 2015. Do you have an answer for that? Is that an area of concern for the investigation? Can you speak to that? Lapse of 4 years?
It is a concern. There's always the concern that there could be additional victims out there. So again, we always encourage that any victim of sexual assault come forward and report it to police. And we can provide them support as they tell their story.
How did you come about finding these profiles? Was this like a parallel investigation that ICE was doing, and two sides kind of went, oh, we're looking at the same guy, or how did all this kind of stuff come to fruition?
I can't speak to specifics just because the matter is before the courts, but there was a lot of commonalities that we were able to link. We certainly worked in support with our cybercrime teams and tech crimes and whatnot to link that, but there was a lot of investigation by the child abuse detectives, hours of connecting the dots.
Do you expect there might be more come forward?
That's a possibility. The investigation's not closed.
On that one profile that you mentioned, bmiles23, and there's an Ask.fm profile with that name. Is that one of his profiles that you guys had gone after or looked at? Because it's still up there and open right now.
Right. So again, I can't speak to the specifics, but we are aware of both of those platforms being used. Yeah.
How did police become aware that he was with someone he shouldn't be earlier this month or whenever that was? Forgive me. He was in a breach of his conditions. He was with an underage girl.
Right. Can't speak to the specifics of that, but it came to our attention that he was with an underage female.
Did he, for any reason, before these allegations come to light, was he in a position where he was working with children or anything like that during his job or day?
His previous job was that he did work with children, yes.
Can you elaborate on the capacity?
He was a music teacher.
Are you able to tell us which school or anything like that?
No.
When it comes to these new charges today, Are
Yes.
these purely online contacts? Were there any in-person meetups that happened as a result of these new charges today?
Yes, so he would always, well, from our understanding, he would engage these females online and then make arrangements to meet in person. But from our understanding is it began as an online meet and then arrangements to meet in person later on.
Is this a serial, like a serial offender, you think, when you look at the numbers?
Well, the numbers are alarming, and it's certainly that, you know, it's been a pattern of behavior. I don't know if to define it as serial. I'm not sure if I'd have to look at whether or not I would identify it that way.
How unusual are these many charges against one individual?
We haven't had many circumstances where we've laid this many charges, so it's certainly a first for us in terms of that volume of charges laid.
Is there work going on with other police departments across the country, because it's the internet, it's not just Calgary, looking and seeing if they are looking at interactions that he may have had?
Yes.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Are there other persons of interest in relation to this?
Not that we're aware of.
Sharing of whatever?
Not that we've identified at this point.
Are all the victims in the Calgary area?
Yes.
With these new victims coming forward, like, could you just give us some context in terms of, like, were these parents, like, completely unaware that this was happening? Did their kids flag it to them and then they came to you after seeing news reports? Or I'm just kind of wondering about that level of engagement at home.
Well, what we have identified is that he would try to befriend people on social media sites that he was already, so he would have a friend and then he would try to engage their friends and befriend them that way. So unfortunately, and this is where my message would be, that we want parents and kids using social media to be aware that just because somebody is a friend with an individual doesn't actually mean that they know who that individual is, and it doesn't make it safe for you to become their friend. So it's always really important for parents and kids to know who it is that's on the other end of that chat line. So social media can provide such opportunity to be anonymous that often these kids don't know who it is that they're speaking with. They may have a picture representing themselves as one, but in fact be somebody completely different.
Did he use his own photo?
No.
When you say he was with an underage girl on December 5th, what do you mean by that? Did you have any specific on what he was doing? Was he just seen with her? Do you have any? Can you just give us a general idea of what you mean when you say he was with?
So his release conditions are that he's not to be with anybody under the age of 16, and he was. So that is a breach, and that's what he was arrested on.
So he was physically in the same.
Yes.
In the same room or the same seat next to him, to her. I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're not saying that he had any sexual misconduct with that?
I can't speak to the details of that.
Can I ask, so are all the girls at one particular school?
No.
So they're spread out throughout
Yes.
Calgary? And also, we had been notified by some parents at the one school where he was teaching that they had concerns that this investigation had been going on prior to May, and that they weren't aware of it, and this teacher, even though that he's being investigated, and was working at the school, and then he went on these overnight trips with girls, and just that there's this ongoing contact, and the school wasn't aware of it. So that maybe had they been more aware, they wouldn't have allowed him to go on these overnight trips.
I can't speak to what was happening in terms of the investigation, but we obviously can't do a duty to warn or anything of that nature without having the opportunity or the ability to lay charges. So if we don't have the grounds to lay those charges yet, or we don't have the evidence, then that puts us in a situation where we're restricted by what we can say.
Did he teach at a high school, junior high school? Or was he like at some company that just...
No, he was at a school, and I apologize, I don't know if it went up to high school age or what the age range of the school was.
Were any of his victims students?
Sorry?
Were any of his victims students of his?
They were students. Obviously, if they're children, they were students, but I can't say whether or not they were students of his.
But they're at the same school he was teaching?
No.
none of them were?
It's a very difficult question to ask because again, I can't get into the details, but I can say that he wasn't engaging people as a teacher.
Parents and kids are going to spend a lot of time with each other over the next 2 weeks. What kind of conversations are you wanting parents to have with their kids with this story in mind?
I would want parents to have the same conversations with their kids about social media that they would in terms of being out in public and engaging conversations with people that they don't know. It's important that parents and kids are safe. Parents should know what social media platforms their kids are accessing. Talk to them about the fact that there is nothing anonymous about sharing pictures, sharing personal information online, that it doesn't remove who you are. So sharing those intimate pictures, they're out there. They're accessible by many, many people. And knowing who it is that you're speaking to. And that's the biggest concern. And never meet up with somebody that you don't know who they are. So engaging in a conversation and then making arrangements to meet with that individual, you know, anywhere is not safe.
Can I just clarify, so would it be that he met them in his role as a teacher, but then was posing as this other person online?
No.
No. So he was a teacher, access to kids, but not in any way were they connected then later to the other incidents?
Yes.
What's his current status? Is he currently in custody? Or
Yes.
He'll be remanded in custody for the remainder? Is that up to the court?
He has court on December 22nd, tomorrow.
Can you speak to how the victims are doing and what kind of assistance they might be receiving? Because obviously there's a lot of them, and also it takes a lot of courage to come forward. So.
Yeah, you bet. We're very fortunate. I mean, I work at the Sheldon Kennedy Child Advocacy Center, and so the resources and the support and therapy and all that is always offered and provided to any victim.
How many of the go ahead. How many of the victims come forward because of the coverage of previous two arrests?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed it. You say this is the largest case of this nature that you've been involved with, or the city's been involved with? Can you speak to that?
It's certainly the largest in terms of charges laid that I've been involved with, and you know, in reflecting back, I can't think of another set of circumstances where we've laid this many charges against one individual, this many victims.
He's not still teaching, not still a teacher.
No.
Given that he was facing charges or previous charges and he obviously breached his conditions on December 5th, why can't police do anything more to protect potential victims, given that he was given these conditions? Obviously he was not abiding by them. Is there anything more that police can do to protect any potential victims?
Can you clarify your question? Sorry.
I guess my question is, he was facing charges. Obviously, he was released, and he had a number of conditions he was supposed to follow.
Right.
He obviously was not doing that. Is there anything more that police can do to make sure that kids that could be potential targets are protected from him?
Other than having him in custody, it's a difficult question. I mean, the courts released him on conditions that he was meant to abide by. And clearly he didn't follow those release conditions.
Do you know if he was still teaching between the time that he was originally charged and now?
Not that we're aware of.
And can you comment on the extortion part of the charges? Can you just comment on what happened? Like, were the images then being threatened to be released publicly?
I can't speak to, again, because they're before the courts.
I know he's in custody now, but does he have any sort of access to social media or a computer or anything like that?
While in custody?
While in custody, but I guess I would also be asking about this period in between, like when he was it part of his conditions that he not be on the internet?
Yes.
Okay, and does he have access to the internet, or will he have access to the internet in the future?
It was part of his release conditions, and if he's released, it would continue to be part of his release conditions.
Just to be clear though, his release and today, the new charges didn't necessarily happen in that time frame. They may go back further, correct?
Correct.
Except for the December 5th.
Except for the December 5th, but the 49 today that we're talking about, those didn't happen inside that small window.
That was 15 and 17?
Right, so he was initially charged back in May, and then we laid 37 charges, 37 charges on the 18th. So 6 offenses on the 7th, and then 37 on the 18th.
But so as far as you know, no offenses between 2011 and 2015, I just want to, and do you know where he was at that time?
Well, the investigation is still ongoing, so I can't speak to whether or not we have any open investigations during that time period, but right now for charges, your time is correct, yes.
Any other final questions?
Okay, just on, Snapchat, Instagram, most parents understand what those are. Speak to the other one, because that one, I don't think a lot of people.
Which one?
The Ask FM one, what that actually is.
It's I mean, and when I list out, the social media platforms that he was accessing, it doesn't mean that any other social media platform is safe, if you will. The opportunity to engage in private anonymous conversations on any social media platform exists. So I think parents need to be aware of that. They need to be aware that every day a new app, a new platform, a new opportunity to engage in conversation anonymously comes up. It's incredibly difficult to keep up with it. So I don't think it's that it's Snapchat or Instagram or any of those, it's that any social media platform provides that opportunity.
This may have been asked, but do you expect more victims will be coming forward?
That's always a possibility. And like I said, any victim, whether related to this matter or any other, should come forward and report it to police.
Just confirm, so it's 49 charges as of today. So that's the total that still stands, because there were,
yes,
like if you make the total, you've reached like something like 57 total that were presented, but some of those were dropped, right?
So we're at 49 charges,
okay,
yeah, that he's currently facing.
49 charges, which includes the May, the December 5th, and the December 19th.
Okay, good.
49 total. Yeah.
Thanks.
Good. Okay.